Hey folks, today we are going to be doing a video tour of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, the beautiful growing city located directly across the harbor from Halifax. We're going to be going over housing, amenities, lifestyle, transportation, all the things you need to know. Once again, I am Tom Moore. I'm a realtor here in Halifax. And if you're looking for a little bit more information, maybe you're thinking about a move or something like that, we've got great new guides out. We've got home selling guides, buyer guides. We're going to put that in the description below where you can either reach me by email, phone number, or just you can click those links to directly download those. And also, if you're looking for kind of a home evaluation, you're planning a trip out here, planning to do some buying, something like that, and you're looking to set up a meeting, there's an area there for you to set up a Zoom meeting. But without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so let's talk about the amenities and kind of the changes that Dartmouth is going to see in the next 5 to 10 years. I actually did a video a couple weeks ago, maybe a few months ago now, on the top 7 new developments in Halifax, and that's the reason I'm standing right here. We are basically where the McDonald Bridge comes into Dartmouth, and this whole area behind me here is slated for a massive development. Essentially, it's called the Arrows, Little Brooklyn. There's going to be, I think, 7 different towers around here, in addition to these towers that are already going up behind me. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because with Dartmouth currently, it's a small scale city. You've got the downtown core, right where the ferry comes in. This has some of the best, honestly, restaurants, cafes, bars in the greater Halifax area, but it's an older, smaller downtown. Right where I am right here, we're going to see a ton of residential, but on those residential buildings on the main floor, we're going to have lots of kind of little retail spaces, commercial. There's going to be almost a second downtown. Now, also in Dartmouth, you've got a ton of lakes. You've got quite a few parks, Dartmouth Commons, a few other parks that are kind of scattered throughout, as well as the beaches out the back, which are going to be, 20 minutes or so. Finally, you've also got the Dartmouth Sportsplex, which is literally located kind of right behind me over here. You can't really see it. It's right there. That's got a hockey rink, pool, gym. It's actually a really great athletic center that they've kind of redone. And then scattered throughout Dartmouth as well, got a lot of tennis courts, everyday needs there. So Dartmouth over the next 5 to 10 years, I would say, is going to really develop into almost a rival city of Halifax. So it'll be very interesting to see how that occurs. But at the very least, Dartmouth is an interesting place right now for its development. All right, so let's talk about housing. Now, my hair's wacky here, but we're out front of Lake Bannock. Now, Dartmouth is obviously a very large area, and when we do our monthly market updates, which I'm sure Hannah will put kind of scrolling down here, we pull from a very large area. But when we're looking at average home prices, last month, I am in early October here, so last month was September. It's unbelievably beautiful right now, but we saw average house prices going for, I think, right around 530, and then average condo prices going for right around 430. But again, this is gonna really vary quite a bit, right? When you get into parts of North Dartmouth, things like that, that tends to be the cheapest part of Dartmouth. So this is the area really close to Burnside, which, funny enough, when I was talking about my last job, talking about the commute, if you're working in Burnside, you're obviously a lot closer than you would be if you're in parts of Halifax. But that would be the kind of the cheapest area to buy. However, in the other parts of Dartmouth, say out on the lakes, you've got a nice, beautiful lake frontage property over by Micmac Mall, or heading out kind of towards the Dartmouth Crossing where the IKEA and Bass Pro Shops and all that is, which is another huge shopping mall. You can get up into the, $1.5, $1.6 million for a big mansion. So it's really going to depend on where you are in those little micro neighborhoods throughout Dartmouth. And that's why it's so important to, if you're thinking about moving here and you're unfamiliar with the area, to really take a drive down and get a feel for all these different areas. Okay, so let's kind of do a two-parter here. We'll talk about who Dartmouth is for, as well as the transportation around the end. So we are currently at the King's Wharf development, which is really going to be a phenomenal development right on the waterfront of Dartmouth. Now, Dartmouth to Halifax locals for a long time was kind of seen as the dark side was the joke, right? But I think something that's going to really change with the next 5-10 years is that Dartmouth is going to not really be pigeonholed as a place for one kind of group to be living in. You've got an area like the King's Wharf, or even where we were for the amenities, which is going to really drive kind of a, couples, singles, renters that are looking for kind of higher space living, close to downtown, that's directly across the harbor on a ferry. But then you've also got things like the areas behind me here. You've got these neighborhoods that are tucked in behind the lakes or up in the hills that are much more kind of family oriented. And then literally, if you're looking for kind of the more historic side of things, like what you might find in certain parts of Halifax, just over here, the flower streets, you've got, Victorian homes, things that are nestled really just outside of the older district of downtown Dartmouth on streets that would almost make it feel a little bit like Schmidtville would be to Halifax, where there's houses that are tighter together. So Dartmouth is not for any one group or individual. It is going to, especially as it grows, turn into really its own city where people kind of can be from all different economic areas, different goals for long-term living, whether it's family or whether it's kind of that downtown style living. And yeah, now when it comes to transportation, this is an area that I think is very hard for me to predict what is going to happen. We've got the 2 ferry terminals in Woodside, which is kind of at the end of Dartmouth, and then the one in downtown, and then you've got the 2 bridges. I think as more and more people move to Dartmouth and the surrounding areas, these areas or these choke points, if you will, are going to become harder to transit into Halifax. Now, will that change with kind of the way that people work from home and things like that, or is some of the new development in downtown Dartmouth going to get its own, office core working area? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But the one thing about Dartmouth is that it is, if you're commuting into downtown Halifax, it is hindered by the fact that there's only so many ways onto the city. You can obviously bike. They've got bike lanes right across the bridge. You can take the ferry, you can drive, or you can bus. Those are the main ways to get around. All right, folks, just wanted to finish off at one of the trailheads to the Shuby Park trailhead. Once again, I am Tom Moore. I'm a realtor here in Halifax. And if you're interested in any of those guides, feel free to click that link, download them. And if you can't get access to them, obviously reach out. I'll send them to you. No problems there. Other than that, have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.